This is the bed of the Guadalupe. At one time, this was a marshy, meandering river that spilled into the southern tip of San Francisco Bay. It was very near here, in 1777, that 66 men, women, and children founded California's first civil settlement, El Pueblo de San Jose de Guadalupe.
At the time, of course, California was under Spanish rule, and jurisdiction and colonization of the land was Mexico's responsibility. The sea routes into the presidios of Monterey and San Francisco were vulnerable, and the food supplies needed had to be brought in overland. Pueblo de San Jose was established just for that purpose, to grow crops and raise cattle for food supplies.
Now, the Guadalupe had a nasty habit of flooding during winter rains. After several seasons of such a tiring inconvenience, the Pueblo inhabitants moved to higher ground. There they built sturdy adobe structures around a plaza near what is now downtown San Jose.
Over 100 buildings like this made up Pueblo Nuevo, the new town. This, the Peralta Adobe, is the only surviving structure. It was built in the late 1790s by Manuel Gonzalez, an Apache Indian who was one of the original Pueblo founders. Later, it became the home of San Jose's first commissioner, Luis Peralta. Peralta and his wife, Maria Alviso, lived in this tiny adobe for nearly 45 years. During that time, they witnessed the old Pueblo change over from Spanish to Mexican control, and then, in 1846, to American control.
The site of the historic changeover took place here near what is now the corner of Post and Market Streets. This was the approximate center of the Pueblo's plaza and the site of its juzgado, which means court or jail. And it was here that the Mexican flag came down and the bear flag went up.
The man responsible for raising the American flag over San Jose was an adventurous fellow by the name of Thomas Fallon. He had been living in Santa Cruz as a saddle maker when he heard word of the Great Bear Flag Revolt. Anxious to get into the action, he rounded up 20 of his cohorts, commissioned himself captain, and rode into San Jose. He took over the Pueblo's juzgado and raised the bear flag. Not what you would call a dramatic takeover, but nevertheless, San Jose was now American territory.
And this is the house that Fallon built. Some years after his exploits in the Bear Flag Revolt, Fallon returned to San Jose and put in some time as mayor. Kind of serves him right, don't you think? Anyway, he had this house built directly across the street from the Peralta Adobe. I guess as a symbol of contrast or something. Actually, it really was something in its day, with beautiful formal gardens out front and furnished in elegant Italian decor. This was, believe it or not, one of San Jose's finest estates.
The Fallon House is more than just an historical building. You might have eaten here at one time or another. Around the turn of the century, the mansion was turned into a boarding house and became kind of a local center for Italian immigrants.
During the 20s, the cellar was converted to an Italian restaurant, and basically has been one ever since.
It used to be a favorite of folks like Charlie Chaplin and Ben Turpin. Every time they'd go to shoot a movie up at Niles Ranch, they'd stop off here in San Jose to visit their friends in the Italian cellar.
And during the Great Depression, poor families could come in here with a bucket and fill up with pasta, ravioli, and rolls for only 50 cents a bucket. Ah, history and food. What a combination.
Mangia.
Molto bene.